But on September 26, 1986, tragedy struck.
I couldn't sleep on the bus in this top bunk. It was too drafty. My throat, was getting screwed up. So I'd always go sleep in the back lounge.
We couldn't get it all together. We were arguing with each other and saying, well, I want your bunk. Well, I want your bunk, blah, blah, blah. I've never told anyone this, by the way. But our manager said, well, why don't we just draw cards? We said, sure. So we shuffled the cards, said highest card gets first choice of bunks. So, I reach for a card and I pick 2 of hearts. Cliff reaches for a card and he gets ace of spades. James gets a card, Lars gets a card. So Cliff has first choice of bunks. So he says, I want your bunk, Kirk. I go, fine. So he gets my bunk. I end up with a bunk in the front of the bus, which was not as good. And that night the accident happened, and it was a horrible thing because Cliff was in my former bunk. What happened that night was that the driver supposedly hit a patch of ice, and the bus skidded. It shattered the windows, and Cliff got thrown out of the bus, and the bus landed on top of him. And when it actually happened, I got thrown out of my bunk and knocked unconscious for 3 or 4 seconds. And when I came to, I heard everyone screaming, but I didn't hear Cliff. And I instantly knew something was wrong because I didn't hear him. And I got out of the top of the bus because there's an emergency hatch at the very top of the bus. And I turned around and there was Cliff. And I just said, oh my God. And I walked away and I was in absolute shock. And I was delirious. I was in shock. I was hysterical. Everyone was screaming and crying.
It was too unreal to just deal with. It was this doctor came into the room that I was in the hospital and told me that our bass player had died. And it was just too unreal.
I remember our tour manager at the time, Bobby Schneider, said, after everyone was kind of taken care of there, he said, let's get the band and go to the hotel. And he said, when he said band, it was it's not really a band right now. And we couldn't really grasp it for a while.
We had to sit down and actually face this. What were we going to do? We realized that the last thing that Cliff would obviously want us to do, and we couldn't stop now. Metallica had always been about going against whatever would come our way and just sort of carrying on.
We weren't really looking for a Cliff part 2, someone who could solo a lot and someone who was really eccentric like he was in his own way.